You're listening to QCast, presented by Qcella Media. Please consider giving generously to Qcella's nonprofit mission. To find out more about our mission and to make a donation, visit our website at qcast.qcella.org. Your tax-deductible donation will help us continue bringing you quality podcasts just like this one.
I may be bruised, but I'm not broken. You can't take away my soul. You tried to tell me I don't count, but I know in my heart that's not true. So you cannot take me down that path. I'll make it without you. I may be bruised, but I'm not broken. My life counts for something, and you wake up and I'll be gone. You'll know that you were wrong. Welcome to my show, Shades of Gender. I'm your host, Terry Ryan. Each show we're going to be talking about gender identity, including transgender, crossdressers, gender fluid, and non-binary gender individuals who self-identify with these groups. The definitions of these groups are often misused and certainly misunderstood. Our goal is to identify these groups, listen to their stories, and their journeys in life to get a better understanding of who they are and how they're doing in society. So I just want to welcome everyone to Season 2 of Shades of Gender. I'm Terry Ryan, and I just want to thank everyone for listening to the show and for my guests over the past couple seasons. They are why I'm here, and I really am honored to be here, to be part of their journey and to be part of the conversation on gender identity. So today I have in the studio, I've got Gail Siobhan Bridges. Mm-hmm. And Gail is someone that I've been really corresponding with for a while. I'm glad you're here. Welcome. Say hi.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello.
Hello. So you drove in from?
The Inland Empire.
Okay. So for the people out of California, what do they consider the Inland Empire, really?
You would consider that Riverside, San Bernardino.
In California, Southern California.
Southern California, we're about 70 miles east of LA.
Right. Mm-hmm. So Palm Springs is not the Inland Empire, really.
Well, I suppose some people kind of consider it that, but I don't.
I don't either. It's because it's onto its own. It's really the desert.
Right.
Right. Because it's 121 degrees in the summer. So, and it doesn't get that hot in the Inland Empire.
It does. It's just a little less hot.
Oh, okay, 119.
Yeah, it's 110 is pretty standard. Pretty standard.
Okay, so it's all hot. For those people from the Midwest, they're like, oh, why would you live there? I'm like, yeah, but right now it's 22 degrees,
right.
Minus 10 degrees in Michigan, so.
As long as we don't have the humidity, I'm okay.
Yeah, me too. So, you are, so people know who you are. Unfortunately, this, it's a radio show. There's a lot of good with radio, but we can't see you. So you're very pretty.
Thank you.
You are. You have she's about 5'10",
5'11" and change.
Okay, and change, and pretty blue eyes, and looks kind of Irish looking. I don't know what your nationality is.
I'm Heinz 57. Okay. I've got everything.
Yeah, everything. So blue eyes, kind of sparkled, and just pretty face. But you are this is a gender conversation show, and again, the full scale. And so I look for the audience, again, to get an idea of as a conversation, where you identify in the gender scale.
Well, I've always been sort of just said cross-dresser, mm-hmm. And certainly closeted cross-dresser. I mean, this outing tonight is my first time out.
Oh, yay! Wait a minute, I've got some girls in the room here. You want to clap? Yay! Whoa!
So.
Yay! Welcome to many more days. I'm so excited, and thank you.
This is you're inviting me actually made me get it together.
I am so happy. That makes me feel so good. Because, my biggest thing is I used to say cross-dressers hiding in the shadows.
Been me.
Right, hiding in the shadows all by themselves, not knowing who they were, what they're doing, why they're doing it. And then the transgender term got kind of stolen, and it's like, okay, and I'm just a crossdresser. It's like, no, you must want to be a transgender. It's like, well, no, not necessarily. So that's why we're here. So you're kind of the essence, you know. And
the thing is, recently I read someone used the term femmeophile. And I thought, ooh, that sounds good. I think I'm going to do that instead of crossdresser. I'm a femmeophile.
You're a femmeophile. Oh, gosh. You know, it's so funny. I've never seen more people that hate the word crossdresser, because it's and I know why, because of the sissy crossdressers, and it became a sexual term on that whatever percentage it is. And our society it's like it takes a few bad apples to ruin the label, right?
Does.
So it ruined it, and it made it seem like, oh, they're all sexual, they do it for sexual gratification, and it's like, no, it's not. It's, you know, it's more, if anything, it's a gender fluid. It's part of who they are. It's so I don't know. I mean, but it's not what you think it is. So, but I have to laugh because I've learned 2 new terms tonight on kind of this dual gender, or a femme, part of a femme self of gender, and kind of, you know, having part of the gender fluid. So the other, yours is anyway, it's femmeophile.
So as I understand it, it's femmeophile, Femmephile.
Let's talk about your journey, because, you know, the first time out, which is very exciting to, you know, and obviously highly closeted. And, you know, when I started working with crossdressers 7 years ago, trying to do a show on crossdressers it was so hard to get people out. You know, because crossdressers, trans come out because they're strongly committed to one gender. And though it's not an easy road for many of them, they're willing to make that sacrifice to everything to change genders. So as a crossdresser, it's like, yeah, but I don't know. You know, I'm not. You know, I don't know where this journey is going to go. I don't even know if I even. You know, I still like.
I don't know how serious it is.
Yeah, I don't know how serious. I mean, I still like being a man. I'm not going to toss that away and say when I was 2, I presented as a woman and or a little girl. So our society makes it very difficult to be a crossdresser.
It does, but I think at this juncture, for me, your invitation here was one step. Getting to know these 2 girls out here was another big step for me. I was able to go over to my friend Helen's and do some preparation, you know, putting together some hips and trying on some outfits. And it was done in a very safe environment. And even coming down here, it felt like it was going to be a safe environment.
With the girl, because the girls are coming out more. You know, I think the internet, again, like it has for so many people, it has given people, and I don't know where you met the girls, and you can tell me in a minute, but
I meet everybody online.
Online, right? So it's opened it up so much because, you know, you don't feel alone anymore. I always felt like, you know, before the internet, you're sitting there by yourself. You go to the library and there's like, nothing's current, right? Yeah. And you're trying to read about something. It's not current, and you don't have even the groups to be able to look up the groups, you know, the trias, the crossdressers, the traditional crossdressing groups. It's like there just wasn't, and people are hiding in the shadows and running because, you know, you're lucky you run out.
I remember before the internet, I would hit every library I could, looking up any information I could, and zip, zero, nada.
No.
Nothing.
Nothing on it. I mean, nothing. And then you're sitting there thinking, well, who am I? And what am I, you know, so that's where I think the depression and the purging, you know, it's like, well, I don't think this is worth it. I'm going to just put it away and I'm not going to do it again. But then it comes back and I was like, yeah, but I like doing it and it is part of who I am. So, I think, again, the internet's really opened it up and at least let people know the resources and where to get together with groups.
Absolutely.
And then have some fun. You know, life should be
And what's
fun.
really interesting is for the younger generation, I think they've got a whole different paradigm that they're living under than our age. I've got a friend who is how do I want to say this? My friend's son, anyway, that child came out on Facebook, and then I contacted her and let her know what my situation was. And it was like, she felt great relief that, you know, I'm the friend of her mother since, 8 years old. But, we get talking and it's like, her situation is very different. She is getting all this support and love from people on Facebook because, she came out and blah, 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 blah. And it's almost impolite not to support somebody these days, particularly at that level. But
and how old is she? High school? Or?
No, a little bit older. Actually, 30, I think, 31. And
is she coming out as a trans or cross-dresser?
Gender fluid.
Gender fluid.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, which is, again, I think the new term or a more current term lately is I'm seeing more is gender fluid. So. So but some people think it's a catch-all and it's not really identifying anything. It's like it's not really committing to anything, which is part of the dialogue. So which is like why I hate labels. But I think what you're saying though, so like, she grew up, she knows how to use the internet. There's been role models. You contacting her is really wonderful.
That was a big deal for her.
Big for her. Because as much as she may feel supported, there's more of a superficial, I think, unless like anything in life, if you haven't gone through it yourself, you really can't self-identify. You may not be prejudiced against it, but unless you have a firsthand experience with it, no one really knows what it is. They don't know the pain. They don't really know the highs. They don't really understand.
They just want to be politically correct and be supportive because who knows who's watching. Right.
And I can tell you, and not even taking the time to really understand what it means. To be gender fluid, they don't really understand it. But it's nice they're not getting laughed at or chastised.
Right.
At least
Even her family, I think pretty much already accepts, which is great.
Well, but see, our society is, especially in America, and we're not bad. I mean, there's other. You get killed in some parts of the world. So, for coming out as a different gender. We like to be polite in our society. So
we certainly do.
We do. So, I mean, you wouldn't know it with politics now, but we really do like to be polite. Especially on social issues. We're very polite on social issues.
Very much so. And it's funny, back when I was a kid, I remember my mom and I were watching the news and there was some sort of story about some sort of gay protest. And just for giggles, I thought, hey, Mom, what if I was gay? And her thing was, she kind of got angry. She says, I would put you in a mental hospital until you straightened out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's
okay, there you go.
Not coming out to Mom.
Yeah. Well, that was kind of a good little catch. You didn't even try it on being gay. That's how.
Yeah, just to kind of stick her with a stick.
Right. Well, again, so there is a difference on the age group that you are coming out in. And it's going to merge. I mean, we're going to get enough volume of people coming out, and where it's going to become, I don't want to say a non-issue, but it's going to be more of a, whatever you are, you can be, and then it's a question of, getting back to who you are, and I think there will be an openness. Now we are in California, and I can tell you, being from Chicago, what Californians forget about is how liberal they are. Mm-hmm. They don't realize that the rest of the country, I mean, you forget, because I forget. I go back to Chicago and I say, hey, I'm doing my Shades of Gender show. And they're like, what? You're doing Shades of what? My mom says, are you still doing that show with those lesbians? I said, Mom, they're not lesbians. My mom's 86. Yeah. No, Mom, they're or 84. Oh gosh. And she's pretty current, but she doesn't have in her mind the bandwidth to understand.
The older folks are not going to. They're not going to buy in.
They're not going to buy in. For them, it's just like they're finally starting to get lesbians and gay people in their life. I mean, my nieces or my nephews, not nephew, my cousins, a couple of them are gay, and it's like, oh yeah, they're actually lesbians. It's like, boy, there's a lot of lesbians in that family, So, but they don't get it. So I back to what you said. I think that. It's so the group mentality of support is, I think, very good, and it also makes things more fun, and you can learn from each other, and So your mom, okay, so your mom and dad. So tell us about your childhood and your back.
Born in St. Louis, we moved out to
Midwest,
San Bernardino, when she got a job there at Norton Air Force Base.
Wow.
And
military? What did she?
Civil servant.
Base? Yeah.
Civil servant. Mm-hmm. And just grew up there. And it was a pretty normal childhood, except, when I was about I was a late starter, so I discovered mom's under things around 15, and like, oh, hey, this is neat.
All right. So that is, of course, the next question. Because,
Sure.
as you know, and I'm sure because you have so many conversations with cross-dressers online, and is that it? It is that's a little late.
It is a little
people.
late.
Usually it's
but,
5, 6, 8, 9.
It's true,
so-
but actually I knew something was going on earlier. I was probably about 6, and
That's more in line with what I've seen,
Well,
where there's kind of the first glimpse of something.
there was
that has
something
to do
going
with-
on because I remember vividly we were going to Saturday bowling with some other friend of mine, and of course I wasn't sitting in a seatbelt then because nobody cared about seatbelts
Right,
then.
you go right through the
And
window.
I was sitting down on the floor, and I was grabbing onto my mom's leg, and she was wearing a skirt and heels and like real silk nylons, and I was just grabbing under her leg, and it's like, oh, hey, well, that feels good, and that just kind of stuck in my head. And then I remember a few years later, for some reason, I said, Mom, let me have one of your nylons. Why? I said, I want to take it up to the school. Why? I want to put sand in it.
Oh,
And it's like it made this giant, what's the word I'm looking for? Mannequin leg.
right. You made a leg with the
I made a
nylon.
leg. Yeah,
So you did.
I did. It was hilarious.
It's like you filled it up with
Yes.
the leg because you wanted to see how it
filled out.
How it filled out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and that was young.
Oh, that was probably 8.
Yes. Yeah. So you were on your way to.
Well, and the other thing was,
Acknowledgement.
the parents then didn't talk about sex. And I was essentially an only child. My brother and sister were 14 and 15 years older than I was,
right.
so they were gone.
They were already gone. Yes.
So
5 by.
Yeah. So I was in 6th grade, and I hadn't had any sort of education about the birds and the bees. So I was thinking, am I going to stay a boy all my life? Because I like what the girls are doing. That seems like fun. Am I going to, get something else going on? And, here I am, a lot older, and I'm still waiting for the birds and bees talk.
Never got it.
It never
of
got
course.
it.
Never got it. But-
Well, school, actually, they had it, and it was like, oh, well, that's an eye-opener.
Right.
There's an outie and an innie.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, that is something I've heard before too. It is interesting. So there was a self-identifying, certainly of female in you, and that was as you got, pre, I guess, like you said at pre-high school, just before high school. So. When you finally got the birds and the bees talk, did you feel disappointed that you weren't gonna become a woman?
A little, yeah.
Okay, all right.
I was thinking,
They're more fun. Like I like doing what they're doing. So
Well,
you mean,
yeah.
yeah.
But I think it's also, we grew up on Bewitched and I Dream of Jeannie, and it was a very wish mentality that I think we were all raised with. So it's like, what, I can't have this? What's going on here?
Right. Yeah, I mean, but that's a very that is a self-identification with what the girls do, and so did you like more feminine things that traditionally feminine things, or you were older than dolls, but how was that in terms of gender versus sexuality? Like, were you, as you got older, were you attracted to women?
I've always been attracted to women.
Yeah, because you want to go play with them.
Yeah.
Little girls, I mean, in the sense of being.
And
with
I
them.
don't know that I identified with, like the dolls or things of that
Right,
nature. I
'cause
think it
you
was
were
just kind of a
older.
general softness, and they'll talk to you, and it's really more, I think, how the boys were developing into jerks. And it's like, I don't want to hang around that. I still don't want to hang around that.
Right.
It's pointless.
Right.
I'd rather talk to the dog.
Testosterone.
At a party.
Yeah. So it was getting kind of rougher, and as a testosterone kicks in. Once testosterone comes in and you hit the hormones, it's the game changes.
Big time.
Big time. So as it was kicking in for you, I had someone once say, one of my guests who was a crossdresser said, I wanted to, because I started cross-dressing earlier, maybe 6 through 10, 12, and said I put away the bra. When I wanted to get into a bra, I put away my bra. So did you feel like, what was your dating life like? I mean, what was that like? You know, how do you deal with now you're still part of yourself, it's still this femme part.
It wasn't very defined. It was like, come home after school, throw on some pantyhose. Okay, that was pretty much it. And by the time I started dating, like 16 or 17, it was pretty normal. It was always pretty normal. I think I was probably older when I finally got a girlfriend who was approaching my size in clothing that I could start to wear some of her things. And that was around the time that I was also finding stores out in Southern California to check out what they had. And when there were cross-dressing stores.
Right.
Of course, they're all gone now.
Right.
And started to buy things and started to figure out how to hide things.
Right.
Which is the big question.
The big thing, too.
Yeah.
And were you living by yourself at the time? Or
I was actually living with my girlfriend at that time.
So by this point, you're living with your girlfriend, and of course, because of the time period, which would have been
late 80s.
You had to hide it unless you're willing to sit down and something you can't explain yourself, try to explain it to your partner.
Yeah.
Say, I don't know why I want to, but I have a closet full of clothes back there.
Mine were probably stashed in my ski boots bag.
They're in your ski boots. So they're in your bag. And
Yeah.
did you think you pick your girlfriend because she was your size?
No.
Okay.
In fact, she
That's
asked
good.
me out.
Oh, she asked you out. Okay. Yeah. But you had your own stash? I mean, your own
I did.
stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then did you ever talk to her about, did it ever come up?
I think it came up once, and she pretty much rejected that idea. She did not like that at all.
And how did you, again, you have to remember this is late 80s, early 90s when it was hard to even talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I guess, you're just like, hey, I like to do this once in a while. I mean, and I don't know, maybe more than once in a while.
Yeah.
So she just like, no, and yeah.
She didn't want to hear anything about that.
Right. So
Yeah.
did you purge and say goodbye?
Not
or
at that
did you
time,
just
actually.
Get rid of her.
I got rid of her, actually, because she had a drug problem, as it turned out.
Oh, that's good.
And I was getting prepared to move to Northern California to go to school. So I brought my stash with me, and I lived in the dorms, even though I was an older student. And I purged then, not because of anything you would expect. There was a fire in the dorm. And shortly after that, I thought, the fire people are going to go searching through closets and whatnot. They're going to find my stuff. I better get rid of this stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
So right. And in fact, really, again, for our listeners who, are younger, they don't know the kind of prejudice you would have as a man having women's clothing in your gym bag.
I don't think it would be understood very well at all.
No, I don't. I mean, they just weren't, the police, I mean, if that happened or whatever, the people didn't understand that. That was immediately freakish for someone.
Oh, yeah.
So that's kind of why, just the backdrop of why you got getting pounded on, it's like it's bad. I don't know. And then you add religion into it. I'm going to go back before I talk religion, because that's a biggie. What were you going to school for, and why were you going later? What did your work look like at this time?
I went to school late just because I was a slacker.
Oh, right. Okay.
I was, went to junior college right out of high school, and I was just so fried with high school. And then after...
Were you a skier? Did I hear you?
It was just for fun. It wasn't professional or anything.
Yeah. What were your interests? I guess I'm trying to get to as a
It's always been music.
Music.
Okay. Music was a big deal for a number of years.
Did you write music? Did you play music?
I actually went to a music school out in Los Angeles for a year and got my certificate there, and then taught music in other parts of the country, then came back. And so I just did a lot of things for a while, then worked at a music store back when they had, records and LPs and
so
DVDs.
You loved, weren't they the best?
Yeah.
Did you play an instrument? Or?
I play guitar.
Guitar, okay. So, and write songs when you're younger?
No, mostly just I go play cover bands, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So
I
you
still
just like to play.
I like to play loud and be a rock star.
Okay. So that's like and I know you do photography too.
I do photography too. That's what I've been doing lately.
So you're a creative soul.
Usually, yes.
Okay.
I'm trying to do that, and I'm actually I'm back to college now.
Going back
taking
to school
some more computer
Sydney,
classes.
Yeah,
but she's going in public. I'm not.
Well, Sydney's taking a Sydney's doing it differently.
Yeah.
And enjoying it. But you, what are you studying now? What are you trying to do?
Information security. It's protecting computers and data from being corrupted and being stolen and whatever the Russians are doing.
Right. So database to protect your data.
To protect data,
and your
absolutely.
I just got a call today, or an email, basically saying that if I didn't pay, that they were going to they were going to charge something to my account. If I didn't call them back, they were going to charge something to my account. Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, I hope to God they don't have my credit card, But someone taught me a while ago, you can actually go up to the name and then click on it, and you can see really where it came from.
That I don't know. I don't know.
The name of. So if you have a sender and it may say AOL or Apple or Amazon, you can go up and click on the Amazon and see where it sends from. And the address will not, it'll sound weird. It'll seem weird. So it will be like John Jones 1234. Then you know for sure it's a,
my service tells me, my service is now telling me that things are, very spammy. It's like, oh, this is potential spam. So, okay, then I won't answer.
Right. And the phone for sure will say spam risk, like they're getting. So they're catching a lot more of that stuff. So so you said you were, so you're going to school up north. So what was that like you were, did you say it was in San Francisco?
San Jose State.
San Jose State. Did you then continue? Did you purge and then come back out again and start hitting some clubs?
Started collecting things again, I think. I got married.
Your wife, you met?
I met her at high school. We knew each other from high school, and we met at our 10-year high school reunion.
I see.
And so I told her about Gail. I don't even think the name was Gail then. Mm-hmm. Before we got married, and she told me about her issues with health. So we had our little secrets, and she was basically supportive. And then I think we had an incident. This was probably 10 years into the marriage. And we had a friend who was staying with us, and he was going to pay us back by fixing our sprinkler systems. So they were out in the backyard, and he said, oh, I need this and that tool. So she says, well, you should go look in the shed, which is where all my stash was.
Oh, my goodness.
And so they go in there and find whatever they find. And I think that embarrassed her. I think because she had never seen Gail. She'd only really just knew.
And she didn't even want she wouldn't even give you a closet in the house for this. No. She was like out of sight, out of mind. I really I don't want to know Gail.
She supports it in theory, but
yeah. But never really was involved with it all.
Not at all.
Right.
Not at all. And I didn't want that either. But I think exposing that information in the stash, I think embarrassed her.
Well, it probably brought to light
the reality.
Yeah. I mean, probably more than anything, she probably just was ignoring it. It's easy to ignore something until you are confronted with it. So it's probably just looking at her in the face saying, oh my goodness, what am I doing? So what did that? So did she? Did she ever give you a chance to talk to you about how this would work in your lives, or was it just too much for her?
She never wanted to talk about it. The ending of that story was the funny part. I came home from work that day, and they're both sitting in the house, and
the person that's fixing your cable, your sprinkler.
I said, so what's going on? He just gets up out of the chair, comes over to me, plants a kiss on my cheek, and that's it. I guess I should have prefaced this saying he was a gay fellow.
Oh, I see. So he just kissed you.
Yeah, he just kissed me like you're part of the family, I guess.
Oh, wow. That's really funny. He didn't know what you were.
Right, exactly.
He didn't know if you were just doing drag or what, because again, a different time period.
Yes.
It wouldn't have been so that's so cute. So he was on your team.
He was on my team.
Yeah, he's like, oh, don't. And she's so worried about it, but she really wasn't.
But neither one of them mentioned it again at all.
Yes, yeah.
It was just one of those things.
So he was, he was fine, but I think, so did you say it was just confronting her in the face. And quite frankly, the kind of sacrifices that I always felt sorry for the community to have to put their clothes, hide it and bring it out. And, because it was, it just had to be hidden. So, you know, or you know, I said, well, why don't you tell me at the beginning of the marriage? I hear this a lot. And I hear that you did tell your wife.
I did tell her.
What did you say? Did you say you were a cross-dresser? Did you say you liked to? Okay.
And I even, after we divorced, and now I've got a new girlfriend, and I told her the night before, or maybe a couple of days before, we had our first date. I said, I got to tell you this now.
Right.
Because I don't want this to be an issue later.
Right.
And she has a background in psychology. She actually has a degree in psychology, but she didn't know about this aspect so much. So what she does, whenever she doesn't understand anything, she does research, and she did a lot of research, and she came back another day or so later and said, this is fine.
Oh, that's great.
This is, you're not hurting anybody.
Right.
And it seems like a harmless thing. So
that's wonderful. I'm glad you found, well, first of all, you're honest about it up front, which I find is
I feel so
easier.
bad for the people who don't tell people up front. That just seems
horrible.
Yeah.
Well, it's because it's it's changing. It's like switch and bait, right?
Yeah.
Bait and switch. If I switch and bait,
Yeah.
same thing to me.
Yeah.
But it's you're going into the relationship, and I think it's and then there's another identity that you didn't know you married or you're dating, and and then there's this feeling of being lied to, and it gets very complicated.
Very much so.
Very
yeah.
much. So I think you're doing the right thing, and whether like any relationship, you can state how it's who you are, and then if it doesn't work out, at least you're honest from the beginning,
Right,
and then at least that gets it off the table that you didn't lie to her, and because no one knew where it goes out. So your current girlfriend, how long have you been together, and how did you two meet?
We met online on OkCupid.
Oh, cute. Now tell me, OkCupid is what?
It's an app. It's a dating app.
Good.
And we've been together, 4 years come May.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it sounds serious.
Pretty serious.
Yeah.
She knows. Her boys know.
Really? How old are her kids?
18 and 12.
Super.
And they only know because they busted me.
Oh, well. That happens.
That happens.
And what did you say when they came in? Did they come in the room when you were dressed or getting dressed? Or?
The older boy he came home unexpectedly. And I was upstairs with the dog food getting ready to feed the animals. And he came in going, and he sees this woman there, and then I turn around and say hello, and he just kind of stares at me blankly for a couple of seconds and says, okay, I've seen enough.
He's got a sense of humor, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then he just walked out, just plain as day. And then, I don't know, about 15 minutes later, I was, of course, trying to get everything off of me. And he comes back and apologizes. And then we start having a little discussion about it. And he was totally okay with it. He says, it's none of my business.
Right.
It's good to know, but, it's none of my business.
Right.
And then the little one just busted me, I think, in November or December. And it was just, I wasn't expecting anybody home. They were having some sort of school function. Well, it turns out that he didn't have the right time, so they showed up late, and it's like by that time there's no point in staying, so they came right home.
Oh my goodness! That's
So
funny.
yeah, he saw the wig. I don't think he saw much else.
Yeah, but it sounds like it's all working out for you. So I am going to have to wrap up the show. I love you back, and I do want to say, Gail, that I'd love to have you back. I know it's your first time out, and you've got friends here, and I hope you stay. We've got another show. Stay with the group,
Love to.
And I really am. I'm just happy to have you out. I just can't say enough for your story of who you are, and to put some normalcy into life, because there's no reason this taboo that so many cross-dressers have been living their life with, to me, is just should not be anymore, especially in today's society. So, welcome to life and welcome to being out of the shadows.
Well, you know what? This year, another one of my friends who isn't here, she's been talking to me about going to TG Rocktober. So I think that's going to be a goal to do.
It's a wonderful thing. And the Emerald Club is great. They have an event out in Seattle, north in Seattle. So there's some really good events out there. So
Neat.
whatever I can do to introduce you would be great. So thank
Super.
you. And I want to thank my audience for listening to Shades of Gender. I'm your host, Terry Ryan. And thank you so much for listening to the show as we explore gender identity. Thanks again. Bye.
Free, bruised, but I'm not.